Welcome to our third episode in as many years.
Has it been a year?
It's been pretty close. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, no wonder you invited me back. So our memory doesn't span any longer than that. What a train wreck I might bring to it. So this is good. Good to be back
Um,
here, looking at another song.
indeed. Indeed. And if people are binging this,
Yes,
we,
my hair might be a bit more gray.
they're like, my God, they're dying right in front of our eyes.
But we're still enjoying a good beer and good
We
music.
are. Indeed. Yeah. Oh my God. So we are discussing Solsbury Hill by Peter Gabriel off of his first solo album, which was just entitled Peter Gabriel.
Self-titled. Yep.
And some people call it the car album because he's in a car. Um, and if you are you are new to this video log, this vlog, then basically this is it. I'm Dennis Feeney. This
I'm
is
Joe Zink.
Joe Zank, and we are the two guys that just sit around, discuss songs that are have a lot of uh, meaning to us, really resonate with us, and have resonated with us for a long time. And they're secular songs, but for us, they carry a lot of spiritual, I don't want to say baggage. That's
Significance.
Thank you. Significance. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't want to say it, but I did say it, didn't I?
and now it's on the
out there.
internet forever.
Right. So, Joe, you picked this song. I mean, we kind of picked it together, but this was one of the ones that you sent me saying you'd like to do this one. So, do you want to talk a little bit about your choice?
Absolutely. So again, want to say thank you to anybody who may be watching this. Love that you're with us, and I hope that you can find meaning in whatever two I call us yahoos, but we're not. I mean maybe we are, but we're two people who know music, very familiar with it, and are deeply spiritual. And so what we do is these are our two things that bring life to us, music and our spirit, and how do we combine them? And oftentimes in looking at music, it's everywhere. I mean, Dennis, you talked about how this is a secular song, and for what that means, we hear it on the radio all the time. I mean, everybody knows this song. It's just an incredibly beautiful song. I mean, set aside anything else. I mean, It is beautiful. It is catchy. It has a rhythm and a chorus, and it just draws you in. I mean, Gabriel, it was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But again, I'm not sure there are boundaries of secular and sacred, because I think God
That's an excellent
everything.
point.
It permeates everything.
Yes.
And so what we do with Ghost in the Machine, and this podcast is the brainchild of Dennis, is take a look at some of those spiritual, and whether the artists like Seal or Bruce Cockburn or now Peter Gabriel intend them or not, they speak to people like Dennis and I suspect more people. And so we talk about them. That's what we do.
Yeah.
And this song to me is and I'll shut up, but it is the spiritual, it is the invitation to a spiritual experience, and what I do with that, the grappling of what I do with that, and ultimately how do I accept that into my life. I mean, it's an amazing song. And if you've just simply loved the song because it's got a great beat and a great, melody, which it does, That's awesome. And we're going to take you a little deeper than that because the lyrics are just fantastic. What about you, Dennis? What's spoken to you about it?
Oh man. Um, you know, um, well, one of my favorite bass players plays on this, Tony
Mm,
Levin,
mm.
and and one of my favorite producers actually produced this song, Bob Ezrin, who's worked with well, he worked with Kiss on Destroyer.
Which I had that album years
Oh
ago.
yeah. And he also has produced Pink Floyd,
Mm.
God, all sorts of artists, Deep Purple. Um, so um, so Peter Gabriel surrounds himself with, the top-notch, um, a top-notch team. And I heard that Bob Ezrin, he put some limitations on them when they were writing this song and recording it. For instance, for a good portion of the song, the guitar player is playing on an acoustic guitar, and it's not until the very end that the electric guitar comes in.
Oh, wow. I'll have to
And
listen for that.
yeah, and the drummer, um, Heather, we were talking about this yesterday, and Heather was doing a little research, and she saw where the drummer is playing with a shaker in one hand, and then he's hitting a telephone directory with a drumstick to get
Wow.
yeah. Um, so, stuff like that, and I remember a while ago, reading an interview with Peter Gabriel, and he was talking about how when when he writes and when he goes into the studio, he said he has to put some sort of like conditions, some kind of limits, some boundaries on the process, because in this day and age with digital audio workstations and all the plugins and everything like that, not to mention the caliber of musicians he works with. I mean, there's no limit. So he will do things like, yeah, well, like what Bob Ezrin did, like limit the either the instrumentation or the sonics of it. And what that does, he said, is it makes him um, focus and think creatively about how to get across what he wants to get across with this song
Well,
within
and
those
I'll just
limits.
join in. I think this song is so crisp and clean until the end. At the end, when he's made his decision, and then it like the crescendo builds, and you hear, the wildlife in the background and people,
Yeah,
hooting and hollering or whatever, and it just
yeah,
really builds that way. But it
yeah,
really is beautifully done.
it is. It is. So, um, so there's that side of it, you know. Um, and the lyrics, oh my gosh, they just
They're amazing.
amazing.
Well, start us
And
off. Let's dive in because we
yeah,
could go
yeah,
on dancing around it forever. Let's.
exactly.
How do you want to tackle it? I'd say let's start with the first verse or
Yeah,
whatever,
let's do
and
that.
what captured you or stands out, or
Mhm.
where you think it's taking you
Sure.
in its artistry.
So, yeah, so if you haven't listened to this song in a while, go ahead and hit pause on this
Amen.
recording and go give it a listen.
Put earbuds on, do something, just
Yeah,
lose yourself in it.
we recommend if you go on iTunes to go ahead and pay whatever, what is it, $1.25 or something like that. Go ahead and pay for the song and you'll have it. and
Amen. Yeah.
and uh, and uh, so and give it a listen and then come back. So um, yeah, so the first verse, climbing up on Solsbury Hill. Let me start that again. Climbing up on Solsbury Hill, I could see the city light. Wind was blowing, time stood still. Eagle flew out of the night. He was something to observe. Came in close, I heard a voice. Standing, stretching every nerve. I had to listen, had no choice.
Oh, good.
Boy, that sets the scene, doesn't it?
Okay. All right. So I'm going to dive in then.
Yeah.
So to me, um, can I read the next stanza as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he does it in a troika, I'll say that, in a threesome.
Yeah.
Because at the end of that, it's always grab your things, I've come to take you home,
That's
or
right. That's like the
very necessary.
refrain.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the next stanza is, I did not believe the information. I'm sorry, I'm going to sing it like he does. Just had to trust imagination. My heart going boom, boom, boom. Son, he said, grab your things. I've come to take you home. Hey, back home. So to me, and again, Dennis, I want to hear your voice. To me, there's the invitation. Again, it's in three parts. This is a play in three parts. Act one, the invitation. What is an invitation to? Invitation to life is about more than what we think it is. Invitation to a higher, deeper, wider, longer realm than that which I'm participating in. An invitation to what we would call a spiritual life. I'm not going to tag religious terms around it all, even though I practice in a religious context. But I love
I do
where he
too.
starts with this right away, Dennis, climbing up on Solsbury Hill. He's saying, listen, I'm outdoors. I'm in nature. And where do most people say they experience the spirit? It is in nature. That's
Yes.
exactly where he's experiencing it, you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
And it comes through this call of an eagle's flight, standing over, looking at the city. He's in a place where it takes his breath away. I mean, it literally says, uh,
Yes.
you know, it was something that was standing, stretching every nerve. I had to listen. I didn't have a choice. I was invited into this. I didn't ask for this. I wasn't
Yeah.
deep in meditation or prayer. It came upon me,
Yeah.
and here I am.
Yeah. There's oh man, there's so much in there.
Oh, there's so much in there.
um yeah, the spirit, when those times when I've really felt the presence of the spirit, it's either been with dear friends and family, or like you said, being out in nature. Another thing that can do it for me is well, of course, listening to music,
Yep.
um, um, reading, something very um, profound, or like a poem, or a story of some kind.
Mhm.
Um, and the um, so all of that is like uh, those are organic encounters, I think. And what you are,
I
you know,
agree.
like what you're describing, what he's having is definitely like this organic experience. It's not,
Yep.
um,
You don't
it's,
produce it.
this is very helpful. In, in, incredible invention, extremely helpful. Especially, I really like the directions, the map. For as a geographer, I have a terrible sense of direction, so that comes in very handy. But it it just doesn't compare to connecting with other people, connecting with nature, connecting with art.
Yep. Yep. Well, truth, beauty, and goodness. I mean, it assists us with that, but it doesn't bring us there. And I love your point. It's organic. I think, listen, we have to participate with it. We have a choice, but it comes upon us in ways and in times and in locations that we
Yeah,
do not expect it. For some reason, perhaps our
yeah,
spirit is open. and I listen, I don't know this, and maybe you in your research, because I didn't do any research. Maybe you in your research found this out, but I think this is autobiographical. My guess is Gabriel had an experience here and he's writing about it.
Yep.
But I think he's every man. I think, okay, maybe I wasn't on Solsbury Hill when I had it, and it's not even just a one-time thing. I think, Dennis, it's a repeating, recurring when we are open to participate in this. And that the rest of the song is, how will I participate in this?
Yeah.
It's thrust upon us. I love your point. Couldn't agree with you more.
So, do you want to read the second verse?
Oh no, I'm not ready to go on to the second
Oh,
verse.
okay.
Close. So, a couple of things I would ask, and rhetorical.
Sure.
I came in close. It meaning the eagle. He was something to observe. Came in close. I heard a voice. The question is, how do we hear that voice in the spiritual realm? I mean, is it like Scripture would say? Moses heard, God calling out of the bush. Take off your sandals for the. Is that if God spoke to them then, how come He's not speaking to us in the same way? And so I think they're using some poetic language that God speaks to us in different ways. So how's He hearing an eagle? I don't think the eagle's squawking,
Right.
and there's an inner voice happening within my head, within my ears, within my heart, within my spirit. Somehow I'm getting this connection, but it's beyond words. I think that's important that we know that.
Yeah.
Um, and so I just had to trust my imagination. He uses that in the next stanza. Again, I think that's how God does it. My heart going boom, boom, boom. Again, this is an act in three parts. And I think that there are different ways a heart goes boom, boom, boom. But this one is, what's going on here? I'm excited. I'm interested. I'm uncertain. But my heart is, I'm somewhat captivated. It's a beginning of something, but I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
And so that is, I think it's cool.
It's kind of put him back on his heels a little bit.
Yes. Is this something I should be really excited about? Should I be trepidatious? What?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it reminds me of, if he's going out climbing a hill, if he can see the city lights, and it's dusk, it's kind of like, the stories in the Bible of Jesus retreating, and going out and like going away from the crowds. He's like,
solitude.
Yes, I need a break. I need to just go and, and that idea of, and he would do that. He would go into the desert. He would, cross a lake and, getting out into nature and for what that can do in terms of reviving our souls. So this is me completely projecting on this, and Peter Gabriel, I'm sure would maybe like, no, but if he's going out there, he's looking for perhaps to get away from the city, get away from the lights, get away from
Love that.
the routine, right? The grind, whatever you want to call it, and getting out into nature just to, decompress. And then, so when he's out there, he starts to have this experience.
Right.
And you're right, these things come upon us and there was and I may, it's been a while for the tens of people that may watch this.
The tens. Hey man, I'm happy there's tens.
Exactly. No kidding. I don't think we have 10 views yet on the other ones, but if I repeat myself from what, some of the things I said in the last two episodes from the last 2 years, then forgive me. But I think this is an apropos story. There was um, a mountain climber who um, was talking about his experiences, and the person interviewing him said, "Hey, um, when you're up on the summit, that must just be a transcendent experience." And he's like, "No." Usually when I reach the summit, I'm so exhausted, I'm so out of breath, I'm so tired that, you know, I stand there, I look, and then I start making my way down. It's not until days, weeks, months later that the the experience will hit me.
It's fantastic. Love
And
that.
so um yeah, that kind of
Can
uh
I can
reminded
I
me
go
of,
into to verse 2 then, the next
yeah,
stanzas? Because I think that's a good segue. So, okay, an act in three parts. The
yeah,
invitation. We've just heard it. Okay. And he knows it. It's he had to listen. He had no choice. Now act two, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? And starting to put boundaries around it or figure it out or have it make sense in his life or not. And what does that mean? So with that understanding, here's our second stanzas. To keep in silence, I resigned. My friends would think I was a nut. Turning water into wine, open doors would soon be shut. So I went from day to day, though my life was in a rut, till I thought of what I'd say, which connection I should cut. I was feeling part of the scenery. I walked right out of the machinery, my heart going boom, boom, boom. Hey, he said, grab your things. I've come to take you home. Hey, back home. Wow. That
yeah.
is so good. What do you see there, man? You get to
Well,
start us on
that,
this
that
one.
the very first line, to keep in silence, I resigned.
Yep. I mean, that's the question, isn't it? Is what do we keep inward or what do we bring outward? What do we struggle with, but I don't want others to know about it because they're going to think I'll use a term and I don't mean it. The idea will make sense, but I'm a Jesus freak. All of a sudden it's like, oh, people, he got God, he found God, he got religion, whatever it is, he's all of a sudden out there and unrelatable or whatever it is. And it opens us up to vulnerability when we begin sharing these deeper inner experiences that we've had, however that looks.
Yeah.
To keep in silence, I resigned because my friends would think I was a nut, you know, turning water into wine, meaning that clearly he's talking spiritual stuff there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Open doors would soon be shut. Like all
Mhm.
these doors that were opening because of his music and his talent and his insights, whatever. Sorry, we don't have room for you here because you're a wacko. You're out there.
Or it could
Which
also be, there could be, you know, there are people who, when, like you're saying, when you start to share more deeper experiences, share the fact that you're a, uh, practicing Christian, sometimes that is a turnoff to people. Yeah. Um,
and we use Christian because that's what you and I are. It could be a
yeah.
practicing Hindu, a practicing Buddhist,
Oh,
a
absolutely.
practicing Muslim. I mean, I don't want to
Yeah,
put boundaries on that, but
that's right.
that I see something deeper and yeah, yeah, absolutely. People can be put on notice or on like, oh boy, I thought you were cool, and and now you're just one of those because those
Right.
boxes are easy for us to throw on people, right? Oh,
Yeah,
you're one of them. Well, I'm not
sure.
sure what that means,
Right.
but oh yeah,
Yeah.
And that's clearly what he couldn't deny the experience, but now he has to figure out, do I want to, um, let that, what's the word I'm looking for? Integrate with who I am and become a part of who I am? Or do I want to keep it separate, that there's a me and then a spiritual me, but I'll only bring spiritual me out here? Or how do I do that? Or do I
Yeah.
just ignore what happened? And he
Yeah.
probably tries to ignore it because, he was in a rut. So I went from day to day, though my life was in a rut. He's just like, I'm gonna pretend that didn't happen, Um, wow.
Till I thought of what I'd say, which connection I should cut.
Right, right, right. Because it does invite us to that, doesn't it?
Mhm.
I mean, I'll use the term, and I don't
Yeah.
I don't mean it again because it carries much baggage, but that idea of born again. I mean, who knows what that means?
Yeah.
But the idea of, I've been invited to something new. And if I approach life in a different way now, um, I have to live my life differently, or I've become something new. And to do that, do I have to sever some ways of being that I have been in the world, ways that I talk, ways that I thought, people with whom I interact, whatever it would be? Are there some open doors that I got to shut now?
Mhm.
That's that's a hard thing to do, right?
Or others will shut them
Yes.
on
Yeah,
us.
yes. Yes.
Uh, um, and there's so much baggage, and I will use the term uh, uh, baggage in this case with um, the born again, the that Christian kind
Yeah.
of the heavy kind of Christian stuff
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
It's
I
gonna
mean,
be
there's a lot of it's just been, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to productively talk about that. Um, but I mean, well, I can say that when that comes on too strong towards me, um, I shut down. I'm like, that is not, I can't relate to that.
E- exactly, because I think you're right, Dennis. Um because it carries too many connotations, and I'm like, I'm not sure. And again, anybody who is thrust into a spiritual experience like this has to ask those questions to say, how do I approach it and integrate it and begin to talk about it
Yeah,
in ways that um, aren't going to automatically shut down conversation or
yeah,
bring that baggage.
yeah. Well, and the artist we talked about last time, Bruce Coburn, is
Oh
a
yeah.
is a master
Oh yeah.
of that. I mean, he is a practicing Christian, and has been, and people consider him a Christian songwriter, but he, I mean, if you were just listening to his music, you wouldn't get that necessarily. Um, he
Yep. Yep.
he finds a way um, to speak about that in such a way that it's universal. It's just this universal kind of message that or interpretation of what he's going through, which that
And
kind of
it's
stuff
the
really
it,
reaches me. And John O'Donohue, who
oh
I
yeah.
talked about
Oh
in the
yeah. Yeah.
previous,
Yeah. 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 Yep.
he,
Yep.
yeah, he was all about that. He called a lot of the language of Christianity. He said it was wrung out. It's been wrung out of um, the it's been wrung out, and he was trying to bring fresh, fresh words, fresh ideas, fresh imagery to to talk of the Spirit and
Well,
our
and I
relationship
think
with
that's
and our
beautifully
relationship
said.
with God, you know.
I agree with you, Dennis. And that's it. Our language and all those old ways of talking about it, just they have too much baggage, to use your word. It's a great, yeah. And how do we like, okay, stop that? And that's what I appreciate about Solsbury Hill. He's trying to figure this out too.
Yeah.
And not just how do I integrate the experience, which is what verse 2 or stanza 2 and all is asking. He's like, I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to deny it. Okay, now toward the end, I'm starting to figure out, okay, how do I integrate and which doors do I need to open and shut? And I like this time his heart going boom, boom, boom. I don't think it's about excitement. I think it's anxiety. I think it's
Yes.
dread. I think it's how do I do this and not feel the fool and have people laughing at me?
Yes.
Um, and trying to come up. He uses language that's so beautiful,
Oh
and it
man.
is like Coburn. It's every man, every woman imagery because listen, the spiritual experience is universal. We're
Yes.
all invited at different points and in different ways in our life, and what we do with it. We've gone through what Gabriel's going through. Maybe we don't end up in the same place or not, but um, he's really just gingerly. He's being honest about what this invites him to and what he wants to do and what he doesn't want to do. And oh, it's not
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. Absolutely. And these lines, um, which connection I should cut. I
Yep.
was feeling part of the scenery.
Yep. Yep.
I walked
Yep.
right out of the machinery. That's like again, leaving all of the um that idea of him. He's gone up Solsbury Hill. He can see the city, the lights, all that stuff down there. Um, this is this I I walked right out of the machinery, just like even leaving more of that behind, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and there's going to be some significant, I mean, for me, significant significant anxiety. That's
Yeah.
getting there is a very short trip for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much to um, get me into like a seriously anxious moment. But yeah, so I think you're right. I think you're right.
So do we want to go on to third
Yeah,
verse? So how do we
yeah.
wrap this up?
Um, so yeah, let's see. When illusions spin her net, I'm never where I want to be. And liberty she pirouette when I think that I am free, watched by empty silhouettes who close their eyes but still can see. No one taught them etiquette. I will show another me. Today I don't need a replacement. I'll show them what the smile on my face meant. My heart going boom, boom, boom. Hey, I said, you can keep my things. They've come to take me home. Damn, damn.
It's so good. So
Oh
good.
my gosh.
Um, okay, so I'm gonna dive in.
Sure.
Okay. Song in three parts. The
Yeah.
invitation, the trying to ignore, but ultimately trying to figure out, do I integrate? What do I do with this? And then three, coming to say, this is it. Acceptance. It's diving
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
And I love it. He uses such interesting imagery in this third
Yes.
part.
Oh, it's
You know,
incredible.
um,
I mean, completely poetic.
Yes, completely poetic.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
it
mean,
is. The part that well, I won't say it's the part that speaks to me most, but one that I love. And liberty she pirouette when I think that I am free. Again, for me, this is art. So Peter might listen to this and say, boy, Zenk wasn't even in the ballpark of what I meant. And I'm, hey, listen, Peter, if that's the case and you're listening to
yeah,
this, first of all, we've done something right. And secondly, I would welcome you as a third into this conversation. But I think it's the whole question. What he's asking is, what does freedom mean? I think we are free. We are free because we live in a free country. We are free
yeah,
because I have the ability to travel state to state or do what I want to do, blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
without anybody else telling me to do. And what I think he's saying is we only understand freedom in the context of who we are and what we're made for and what we're about. And and the freedoms that we think we have, we are simply tied to various things in this world, and those ties, be they good ties or less than good ties, inhibit our freedoms. And what he's saying is, listen, this spiritual experience, this spiritual way of being, this spiritual life which I'm invited into, is real freedom. And liberty, she pirouettes. She does a 180-degree turn from what
yeah.
we believe freedom is into what the freedom is that he's invited to in this. And he's saying yes to it ultimately. He will in the rest of this.
Yeah. I was just talking with someone yesterday and we were talking about all the things that, all the stuff we buy, all the stuff we collect, all the, like experiences we have to keep feeding ourselves to make ourselves feel like we're making some sort of progress, climbing the ladder, use whatever metaphor you want. And how we're so conditioned to, especially in our society where um, getting ahead so often involves getting more and purchasing more, acquiring more, becoming more, um, when that is actually not, I mean, maybe that works for some people, but um, I think getting in
I think
touch.
universally, it doesn't work in the spiritual experience.
Exactly. Yep. It does not. It's, getting rid of stuff. And like you were saying, like you just so said so well, getting rid of things and jettisoning those things that, you know,
Well, if I
and
may,
that is
John,
something, I've struggled with, just trying, I love the idea of living simply. Again, another buzz term, right? Like being born again, living simply, you know. But that it's it's a very difficult thing to do.
amen. Yep. I think of I'm going to use a parable, or I'm going to use a story, a gospel story again. I think it's universal what Jesus is saying. And so I'm not trying to point in one direction to
Yeah.
anybody listening to this. But there's a story of a rich young man who comes up to Jesus and he says, listen, master, what must I do to inherit eternal life, to possess it? Listen, I've got all these other possessions. I want to possess eternal life. And Jesus says to him, sell everything you have, give the money to the poor, and then come follow me. And the man went away sad because he had many possessions. Again, the idea being who possessed whom
Yeah.
in this story. Did he
Yeah.
possess the things or did they possess him? And he went away sad because he had many possessions and he couldn't get rid of them. And Jesus goes on to talk about it is harder, of course, for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than the rich. not because rich or bad, but it means because so often they are possessed by the things we own, and inviting us to that place of simplicity that says we need, I mean, we hear it right at the end of this song. He says, hey, I said, no longer is it he said, no longer is it the ego or the spiritual experience inviting, hey, I said, you can keep my things. They've come to take me home. Home being this new place, this new ground, this new way of being, this new way of looking at life, this new way of looking at myself. I'm no longer interested in whatever that is, that identity, that attitude, that goal, that vision, these things. You can keep all that because I've got something else. And that's what I'm about. And
Yeah,
that's, I think, what that parable is inviting us to.
that's so awesome. Hmm. Um, yeah, and I think that frees us up for, um, if we can let go of as much as we can. um, I really think that starts to free us up for the spirit to come into our lives to reach us. Because the other story, the story I love from the Bible about, and I cannot quote scriptures like you can, but the one where the guy goes to the cave and he's waiting for God, yeah, to come by. And there's a there's a fire, there's an earthquake,
Yep.
there's a mighty wind,
Yep.
and God wasn't in any of that.
Yep.
And then there was, what was it? Like a
Still small voice,
still small voice after all of that.
a whisper.
Yeah.
Some would say the sound of silence. And God was in that.
Yeah.
And he covered his head because he knew God was in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amen. In the lesser, not in the ways we think God is coming or in the
Yeah.
ways we think. I love your image that you just said that freedom is in these things. It's not. It's we fool ourselves to think that.
Oh, well, I use myself as an example, and I can use the, um, the uh, perspective of being, a bass player and a musician and in a rock band. I get emails all the time from different music companies. Here's the latest, greatest bass guitar pedal for $250. Here's a brand new signature bass from John Taylor of Duran Duran, who is an amazing bass player, by the way. Um, for whatever it was, it's a beautiful instrument, but I mean, it's nearly like $3,000 or something like that for the top of the line one. And it's just like, oh my gosh, if I could have that, then I would sound like John Taylor. um, or if you're not a Duran Duran fan, Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath has his own signature amplifier, right? And it's awesome, but it's also it's incredibly expensive for the amp head and the cabinet, right? And so um, you buy this stuff. I buy this stuff, and I have. Um, and there's still more. And it's like, then the next shiny toy appears, and I'm like, I've got to have that. And it doesn't end until I make it end, until I put the brakes on, or Heather puts the brakes on.
Yeah, right, right.
And actually, she doesn't. I shouldn't. That's not fair to her. She is incredibly supportive of my music. That's not fair to her. Um, um, I'm the one that needs to put the brakes on. Yep.
The only other thing I guess I really want to point out here is, he says at the end, well, a couple of things. At the end of the verse, he says, watch by empty silhouettes who close their eyes but still can see. No
Oh
one
man.
taught them etiquette. I will show another me. In a sense, those who are still attempting to ignore, this is how I read it. They're closing their eyes to what was their invitation was to, that they're still wanting to go, in a different way. He's like, I'm going to show another me. I'm no longer going to hide behind my mask. This is who I am. This is
Yeah.
I'm made new. I'm invited. I'm going to integrate it. I'm going to explore that path, and I'm going to show that. And then, I, you know, today I don't need a replacement. I'm not going to hide behind anything else. I'll tell them what the smile on my face meant. I love that, with my heart going boom, boom, boom. Now, again, this time it's
It's out of
it,
joy.
it's joy. It's
Yeah.
exactly right. It's joy. It's love. It's, yeah, this is who I am. Tell you what
Yeah.
the smile on my face meant is I feel grounded. I feel new. I feel freedom for the first time. I know who I am. Yeah,
I'm who
it's
I'm,
joy.
and it's not like he, the character in the song hasn't hasn't changed. It's like you become what you always could have become,
Yeah, yeah,
you know. Um, I think about following um following your dream, following what you are called, what you feel the spirit is really calling you to do. Well,
mhm.
I know, for instance, we both came from our backgrounds, right? We were both working with our respective business degrees, right? Many moons ago.
Many moons ago.
And I'll speak for myself, but I remember having this conversation with you. Um, it wasn't terribly fulfilling,
Yes.
and it took quite a bit for me to realize that and to say, I'm going to go a different direction. I need to go in a different direction and to take that step. And so
100%. I'm with you. For those listening to us, Dennis and I have known each other for many, many years, and 30-ish years. And
yeah,
yeah, that is exactly true. And that's okay, isn't it? That, you know
yeah,
what? That's a good discernment. We start going down one path. It's not like the spirit gives up on us if we make choices that aren't necessarily in line with who we are ultimately. The spirit's going to keep inviting us and keep inviting us, and we get to keep either ignoring or keep trying to figure out how we integrate till ultimately we say, okay, okay, because this is
yeah,
who I am, this is how I'm made, and I'm gonna let the spirit, whoever that may be, the spirit moves in mysterious ways. I'm going to let them lead me in this dance rather than fighting them in this dance, which is always awkward
yes,
on the dance floor.
yeah. Um, and not to throw shade on, um, uh, any sort of, if your calling is business, that's
Amen.
awesome. Yeah,
Yep. We
you
need
know,
good business women and businessmen out there, ethical
absolutely. Yeah,
people that bring life to the situation.
absolutely. Absolutely. So I love that line. I will show another me.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah. Good stuff, man.
Yeah, good stuff. Um,
So I hope you tens out there who will listen to this will listen to this song in a new way now.
yeah,
Or just
exactly.
come join us and let us know what we missed and add
Yeah,
other thoughts. We dig that.
absolutely. Absolutely. Right on. Well, what do you think? Is that it for this round?
I think that's perfect. I mean, again, there's so much more there, and I'm not going to try to figure it all out. But I would say any of the tens who listen to it, if you have songs that you think would be good for Dennis and I to explore,
Yeah,
we would dig that.
absolutely.
Maybe Dennis, you can put your email or something in the liner notes and
Yeah, I
be
will.
in touch or something.
That's a great idea. Absolutely. Well, Joe, thank you, man.
Thank you, Dennis. I love doing this. Way too frequent, or not frequent enough, I guess. Way too infrequent. We should do this
That's
more often. This is fun.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'll send you a list of songs and we'll get started on the next one.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Maybe we can get it done by, you know what
In
I've
this
actually been
calendar year,
in
huh?
this calendar year. Yeah. You know what I was thinking would be kind of an interesting one to do is to pick a song, um, by the time we get to it, we'll be looking at, probably looking at fall,
Yep.
um,
Yep.
and, Halloween. And that could be an interesting, uh, see, I'll see what I can come up with, because I dearly love rock music and hard rock in particular. Uh, and there's a lot in some of those songs as well. So maybe we could do that. Maybe because we've talked about Seal, Bruce Coburn, and now Peter Gabriel. So you know, um, yeah, maybe go in a slightly different direction.
We've done pop, we've done folk, and we've done kind of alternative.
Yeah,
There we go.
yeah, right on.
Hey, people, thank you for being with us. We are grateful. Dennis, you are the man. So
Ah,
grateful for this idea. Love it. This is all you.
thanks, brother man. All right, until
Cheers,
next time.
people. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.